Fayza Lamoury's interview peels back a layer we rarely see in football, the private negotiations of identity, pride and protection that shape a super summer of 2024, not as a mere business transfer, but as a conscious restart. When advisors argued PSG offered the quickest route to silverware, her son replied with a clarity that surprised her. He wanted to begin again, to build a legacy on his own terms. That admission, small and striking, reframes the entire move. It is not only a tactical career decision, but an existential choice about who he wants to be in the history of the sport. As a parent and as his agent, Lamoury traces a straight line from Bondy's dusty pitches to the Santiago Bernabeu, and in those small moments she finds the explanation for a career that has always felt both inevitable and fiercely personal. She remembers a 4-year-old transfixed by Zinedine Zidane, a boy who declared himself Portuguese because Cristiano Ronaldo was his hero, and she recounts the teenager who treasure-kept a scrap of memory after meeting Zidane, a memory he would later use as a compass for ambition and style. Those details matter because they show how taste and imagination precede transfers and contracts. A child's hero can become the adult's benchmark. Lamoury does not shy away from the harder truths. She admits there were times when her son could be arrogant, and she frames the arrogance not as villainy but as a human reaction to the pressure of being watched from the cradle. In her telling, arrogance is a defense mechanism in a life where privacy is a rare currency. Parenting in that world becomes an act of steadying, of bringing down a taut string so the musician can play without snapping. She explains that the family's role was to keep the boy tethered to real measure, to remind him who he was off the pitch, because the world can quickly mistake bravado for character. Beyond temperament, Lamoury opens up about the price of being constantly under scrutiny. When the fans cheer him or boo him, that's when you lose your son, she says, and that line captures the paradox of fame. Access and adoration, yes, but at the cost of ordinary human belonging. The player becomes a public object, and the family becomes the last. That private refuge was brutally tested during the Sweden episode, which Lamoury describes as the hardest moment the family endured. She speaks of tears and fear, and of the instinct to protect when headlines threaten a life. Her belief in her son's innocence she presents as a mother's conviction rather than a legal argument, and that emotional truth is revealing because it highlights the collateral damage of public accusation. Regardless of the legal outcome, reputations are strained and private lives are altered. All these elements feed into what the transfer to Real Madrid actually represents, a desire for redefinition. Choosing Madrid was to choose history, challenge and a canvas big enough to redraw expectation. For a player who idolized figures rooted in Real's mythology, moving there was both a dream realized and a hard reset. It signaled a willingness to be judged by a different standard and to measure himself against legacy rather than the convenient accumulation of trophies. Lamoury's anecdotes underline that this decision came from more than commercial calculation. It came from a hunger to write an enduring chapter of the game's story. There is also a calmer message beneath the headlines, the everyday labour that supports elite performance. Behind every press conference and podium there are private conversations, counsel after a bad week, and the small interventions that steady a person under pressure. Lamoury's account reveals that character is not only crafted by coaches and club directors, but by the quiet insistence of family who keep perspective when the world demands instant greatness. Her story invites the audience to be less hungry for simplified narratives and more willing to hold complexity, to understand that a prodigy's path includes missteps, stubbornness, fear and resilience. In sharing these memories, she does not seek pity, she asks for nuance. For fans and critics alike, the lesson is clear. The moves we debate on social feeds are shaped by relationships and choices we rarely see, and the public spectacle can obscure the human cost. Ultimately, Lamoury's testimony is a reminder that the most consequential moments in sport are often domestic ones. A boy declaring his heroes, a mother reigning in bravado, a family fighting through crisis, and a player choosing not just a club but the terms of his own story. That is the real reason he left PSG, and it is the beginning of a chapter that will be read for years to come.